Rebels Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time to jump back into this mock draft. We left off with the Louisville Wildcats looking to boost their pass rush. Now, at pick 11, we have the Melbourne Marauders.
The Marauders have been heavily linked to running back Alvin Thompson throughout the pre-draft process. He's the Heisman Trophy winner out of NC State. Could he be their pick?
It would be a smart move for Melbourne. They struggled to establish a consistent running game last year. Thompson is a bruising runner with the power to break tackles and the speed to pull away from defenders. He'd add a dynamic presence to their backfield. Now, shifting to the 12th pick, we have the Orlando Sharks in a tough Apex East division. They need players who can make an immediate impact.
They could use help on both sides of the ball, but their pass rush seems like a major priority. It felt like they were constantly playing catch-up last season.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go after an edge rusher like Carlos Brewer if he's still available, or maybe even Joel Kennard out of Clemson.
Brewer has that relentless motor that you just love to see in a pass rusher, and Kennard is technically very sound. Either one would be a solid addition.
The next pick brings us to the Memphis Mojo at number 13. They've been linked to both a cornerback and a quarterback, making this a pivotal pick for them. They might have their eye on Smokey Smith from NC State. He has the potential to be a franchise quarterback, but could use some time to learn behind a veteran like Mahomes.
It would be an interesting dynamic for sure, but if they're not sold on a quarterback just yet, they might opt for a cornerback like Marquise McBride out of Ohio State. He has the potential to be an all-pro.
Let's move on to the Salt Lake Sting at pick 14. They have a solid team, but they could use an upgrade at wide receiver. What do you think they do here?
It's a deep wide receiver class, so they're in a good position to find a playmaker. But guys like Ed Silva and Brenton Branch are likely off the board by now.
If they're looking for a big play threat, Ronald Jones out of Notre Dame could be a great fit. Excellent hands and route running ability make him a potential difference maker.
Jones would be a great pick for them. He's got the potential to be a number one receiver in the Pro League.
At pick 15, we have the Pittsburgh Prowlers. With a new general manager and head coach in Shaka Caesar, known for being unpredictable. This is where things could get really interesting.
Caesar is a wild card. He could go in any direction. I think we'll see a best player available approach here. He'll take whoever he thinks is the best talent, regardless of position.
Definitely keeps us on our toes. Next up at 16 are the Vancouver Mammoth.
With a new quarterback in Andy Lilly, after moving on from veteran Chuck Schaefer, will they look to give him a weapon at wide receiver or address their needs on defense?
It's a classic offense versus defense dilemma. If they go offense, a receiver like Cameron Reed from Michigan would be a great addition. A big-bodied receiver with excellent hands. He'd be a great target for Lilly.
He could create some mismatches. But if they prioritize defense, a linebacker or defensive back makes sense.
Let's move on to the Toronto Blizzards at number 17. Wide receiver seems like their most pressing need.
If Cameron Reed is still available, he'd be a great fit. If not, they might target another receiver like Brenton Branch or Ronald Jones. They need to find a way to create more explosive plays on offense.
Next, at pick 18, we have the Tucson Sandstorm. They have a pretty solid team all around, but they could use an upgrade at middle linebacker.
Luckily for them, the top middle linebacker in the draft, Jimmy Black out of NC State, is still available. A tackling machine, he'd be a perfect fit for their defense.
A true plug-and-play starter, Black would make an immediate impact for them. Moving on to the Columbus Crusaders at pick 19. They have an aging quarterback in Deion Howard, leading to speculation they might draft a quarterback.
It's certainly possible Buck McCarthy from Oklahoma and Taylor McKinney out of Cincinnati could be options. McCarthy has a strong arm and good mobility, while McKinney is a big-bodied quarterback with a lot of upside.
Either one could be a potential franchise quarterback, but it would be a bold move to draft one in the first round. They might opt to address other needs, such as defensive back or offensive line.
The London Lions are up next at pick 20. They need help on both sides of the ball. Defensive back and offensive line seem like their most pressing needs. What do you think?
If they want to upgrade their secondary, A&M cornerback John Poole would be a great fit. He's got the size, speed, and ball skills to be a shutdown corner in the Pro League.
He'd instantly make their secondary better.
But if they choose to address their offensive line, they could target a tackle or a guard.
At number 21, we have the Oklahoma City Natives. They made some big moves in free agency, signing wide receiver Xavier McGee and offensive lineman Earl Gilmore. But there are still some questions about their quarterback situation.
They might draft Blair Cartwright's replacement. If so, Buck McCarthy or Taylor McKinney could be options. It would be a bold move to draft a quarterback in the first round, but if they believe in one of these guys, they might pull the trigger.
The Omaha Railstorm are up next at pick 22. They have needs on both sides of the ball. What direction do you see them going?
They've been linked to a few different players, including running back Jamal Watson from North Carolina, and several cornerbacks. Watson would give them a dynamic presence in their backfield.
But if they opt for a cornerback, Chris Bates out of Purdue would be a solid pick.
Next, at pick 23, we have the St. Louis Rhinos, another team that could use help in a few different areas. They've been linked to both a running back and an edge rusher.
It sounds like they are trying to decide if they want to add offensive firepower or try and bolster their defense.
If they go running back, Jamal Watson would be a great fit. But if they decide to bolster their pass rush, an edge rusher like Connor Bishop from Clemson would make a lot of sense.
Bishop is a powerful pass rusher with a knack for getting to the quarterback. He'd be a great addition to their defense.
The Philadelphia Fury are up at pick 24. They've got a solid team overall, but could use an upgrade at cornerback.
They've been linked to both Marquise McBride out of Ohio State and Malcolm Cummings out of Louisville. Both of those guys would be great additions to their secondary. McBride is a shutdown corner with elite coverage skills, while Cummings is a more versatile player who can play both man and zone coverage. Next up at pick 25 are the Kansas City Mob. They've also been linked to a cornerback in this draft. It seems like a lot of teams are looking to upgrade their secondary this year. With it being a passing league, it makes sense that teams are prioritizing cornerbacks. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mob snag McBride or Cummings if either of them is still available.
At pick 26, the Virginia Beach Bombers have a glaring weakness on their offensive line. That seems like the obvious area to address.
And UCLA center Trey Cronin is the consensus top center in this draft.
Yeah.
He'd be a perfect fit for them.
Cronin is a plug-and-play starter who would immediately solidify their offensive line. He's a great pass protector and a mauler in the run game. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree. They need to protect their quarterback, and Cronin will be able to step in from day one and do just that.
Up next, at pick 27, are the Albuquerque Dukes. They have a new general manager and head coach in Walt Shelby, and he's been pretty quiet about his plans for the draft.
It's hard to say what they'll do, but they could use help on defense. Maybe a linebacker or a defensive back.
The Anchorage Ice Pack are up at pick 28. A strong team with few holes, they're in a good position to take the best player available.
Maybe offensive tackle Harvey Kidd from Oklahoma. If he slides to them,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they snag him.
Kidd would be a steal at that point in the draft. He's got the potential to be a Pro Bowl tackle.
At pick 29, we have the Mexico City Firebirds. They are in an interesting spot after signing veteran quarterback Chuck Schaefer to a one-year deal.
It's a tough call. They could take a chance on a quarterback who slides to them, or they could go with a player who can help them win now.
The Los Angeles Reign are up at pick 30. They're set at quarterback with superstar George Burrell, but could use an upgrade at center.
If Trey Cronin is still available, they'll likely take him. But if he's off the board, they might go with Craig Patterson from Florida.
Patterson is a solid center prospect. He would be a good value pick at that point in the draft.
The Honolulu Surf are up next at pick 31. They've been heavily linked to safety of Georgia.
Back is a versatile safety who can play both in the box and in coverage. He'd be a great addition to their secondary.
And finally, we come to the Buffalo Brawlers at pick 32, the last pick of the first round. They have 2 picks in the second round, so they are in a good position to add some talent. They could use help at wide receiver after trading away DeAndre Flowers earlier this week.
That wraps up the first round of our mock draft. What are some of your key takeaways?
I think this is a really deep draft class with a lot of talented players who could make an immediate impact in the Pro League. I'm especially impressed with the depth at quarterback, wide receiver, and edge rusher. There are going to be some steals in the later rounds.
Agreed. And it's fascinating to see how the draft is shaping up in terms of offensive versus defensive players. It seems like a lot of teams are prioritizing defense this year.
It'll be interesting to see if that trend continues in the later rounds.
We've covered a lot of ground in this mock draft. It's amazing to see how much talent is coming into the Pro League.
It's going to be a game changer for the league. The level of competition is going to skyrocket with these young stars joining the veterans.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, I want to highlight a few must-watch prospects who could become instant stars.
We've talked a lot about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But it's worth emphasizing just how special Jimmy McNamara could be. He's got that it factor, a dynamic playmaker who can make throws that other quarterbacks wouldn't even dream of attempting.
His ability to escape pressure and make plays with his legs is going to cause headaches for defensive coordinators. He's a human highlight reel waiting to happen.
Another player I'm excited to see is edge rusher Brandon Smith.
Yep.
He's an absolute freak athlete, a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks.
I wouldn't want to be the offensive lineman tasked with blocking him. He's a game wrecker.
And then there's wide receiver Ed Silva, a potential game changer. He's a physical receiver with exceptional hands and route running ability.
He's going to be a touchdown machine in the Pro League. Quarterbacks are going to love throwing to him.
And we can't forget about running back Alvin Thompson. He's a bruising runner with the potential to be a workhorse back.
He's going to punish defenses.
Yeah.
He's the kind of running back who can wear down a defense over the course of a game.
These are just a few of the many talented players in this draft class. I can't wait to see how they perform at the next level.
It's going to be a wild ride for sure. So for you listening out there, what stands out to you the most from this mock draft? Are there any picks that surprised you or any players you're particularly excited to see in the Pro League? Let us know.
What's fascinating here is the ripple effect this draft could have on the league. Which teams are going to make the leap to contender status with their new additions?
It's a great question to ponder. The landscape of the Pro League is about to change dramatically.
And as we've seen, anything can happen on draft night.
The actual draft is taking place on January 31st. Make sure to tune in and see how our predictions stack up against the real deal.
It's going to be an exciting night, and we can't wait to break it all down for you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Football Rivals Pro League mock draft. We'll be back soon with more analysis and insights as we get closer to the big day.
Until then, keep those mock drafts coming, and let's see who can predict the future of the Pro League.
It's Rivals Radio.